Huh, that's so.
And her head 2 kilometers downstream.
Yo, what are you doing? What? Nothing. Nothing. Are you looking at a girl's ass in a damn video game? No, you're tripping. That's not what it is at all. Yeah, you are. You're creeping on video game booty. No, it's that aim assist. You know how broken it is in this game. On her ass? Yeah. Bro, you're playing on a keyboard and mouse. I'm looking at it. It's fine. Look, you didn't see what you think you saw. You nasty mother.
Click on Zombie Apocalypse.
What's going on, everybody? It's McFly here. Finally, I got to it. My Cold War review for the campaign. I'm so excited. I gotta tell you, going into this, the first mission kind of got me really interested, but the couple missions after that were a little bit slow, and that's all I played for about a week. And I didn't come back to it for a few weeks until somebody told me to stick through it, and I'm really happy I did. So I'm gonna give you my in-depth review of the campaign, and at the end I'll give you a grade. But I want to talk about this because this was a really fun game. So let's get into it. So in my Cold War multiplayer review, I said I would be doing a review of zombies and the campaign to follow up that video. To be honest, I didn't see a lot of interest in the campaign, so I kind of scratched that off my list of to-dos for the channel. But I soon found myself shuffling through texts from friends and messages in Discords about people being excited to see my take on the campaign. So I added it back to the list because I'm a provider to the people. I love you guys. And it also, it gives me some content. Honestly, the campaign is the most polished part of this game. Now, it's not better than Black Ops 1, definitely, which is the pinnacle of Call of Duty stories, but I think it's pretty close to Black Ops 2, in my opinion. But it does pay homage to these games a lot in this. We'll get into that. Now, following Black Ops 3, Treyarch really didn't even try to do a campaign. As we all know, Black Ops 4 did not have a campaign. Instead, it added their version of a battle royale, which was Blackout, which I personally didn't really like. It was a great attempt at trying something new, and I definitely do appreciate that. So Treyarch didn't do the campaign part of this game. They focused more on zombies and the multiplayer, while they let Raven Studios take all of the responsibility for the campaign. Honestly, it seems to have paid huge dividends. Having one company focus only on the campaign and have to worry about nothing else, it's apparent, at least to me, that this helped in creating a fun and extremely creative campaign. And I've seen a lot of people speak ill of this campaign, saying it has no artistry and not a lot of depth, and frankly, I think that's totally unfair. Now, Call of Duty campaigns in general were never really known for overly progressive and artistic storylines. I like to compare the COD games specifically to Michael Bay films. They're stupid but fun. And when I say stupid, I mean that the stories don't really make sense, and it's more based on action and wowing the player or viewer with extreme action sequences, cars blowing up for no reason, those things like that. That's kind of the epitome of Michael Bay films. A lot of these COD games definitely do have that aspect, but this game exceeded that and my expectations. In fact, I think this game holds up pretty well to the original Black Ops, and I know that's saying a lot, but there's a reason for that, and I'm gonna get into that in a little bit. Now, for a game that as a whole is filled with glitches, and I mean terrible, horrific glitches, I'm happy to report that there was none in the campaign. Thank goodness. At least there was none that I found, and I truly believe that this campaign actually saves this game. Now I'm going to talk about all the aspects of the game I liked first, as this is the bulk of this review. So let's talk about my first impressions. I think with these games, the first mission tells a lot about how the story and game as a whole is going to be moving forward. This game's first mission definitely caught my attention, as I said before. It starts off from a stealthy intrusion to an all-out action sequence. This mission pretty much has it all. It has dialogue between the characters, all sorts of different weapons that you're using, and you're even using the RCXD in the very first 12 minutes of this campaign story. God damn, why are you so... Fuck, that was intense. It also takes this mission to kind of introduce to you the main characters of the game somewhat. You have Woods, and you have the main character and antagonist at the end, Adler. And he's going to be a big one. They don't really talk much about him, but they do show you these characters. And I believe, if I remember correctly, you're playing as Mason in this mission, but they don't mention that at first until you get to the next mission.
Princess will watch the West.
Damn. So again, this had a great first impression for me, and I think that's extremely important. All of the good games that I've ever played, the first mission is supposed to draw you in, and this 100% does that. I think Black Ops 3 did a bad job of this, and that game as a whole was really not that great. I went back and played it before playing this game, not for story purposes, but just to compare it to the latest Black Ops franchise story mode. While I originally liked it the first time I played it, going back and playing it now, I definitely think it was a slap in the face to the hardcore Black Ops fans. So let's talk about the graphics. As I just said, I went back and played some of the other games. Black Ops 1, definitely. Black Ops 2, I played a little bit of. And Black Ops 3 I played all of. I found that the graphics of the campaign hold up pretty well, comparatively speaking.
We're also aware he's more myth than fact. I mean, personally, I think he's nothing more than the Russian boogeyman.
General Haig, allow me to introduce the man best suited to respond to that. CIA clandestine special officer Russell Adler. He's one of the few people who even come close.
To be honest, I'm still convinced that the cutscenes from World War II Call of Duty game were straight recordings that they put into the game.
I like our odds just fine. Always bet on a winner, sir.
But that's kind of another conversation for another video. So I played on my PC, and the graphics look fantastic with even my 1080 Ti. It's amazing how far we've come since the original Call of Duty games. I mean, those look like they could be played on a Super Nintendo almost if you kind of think about it. The cutscenes in this are near lifelike, and I find myself having to go back multiple times to watch the cutscenes because I was so dumbfounded by the graphics and only paying attention to what I was seeing and not to what I was hearing. The graphics were that good, and that's usually a very good sign. There's not much more to say about the graphics. I think they were fantastic. I think the best part of this game is also the worst part, and what I mean by that is I think this game has a lot of good characters, and each they have their own personality. But if we're going to continue to compare this game to the previous Black Ops games, in fact, comparing it to all of the previous Call of Duty games, I think this campaign takes a step back from the previous Black Ops games for sure. The problem is that they don't give a lot of background to any of the main characters, especially the most important one to the story. He gets the least amount of background, and that's Adler. In case you guys are wondering, this is going to be a spoiler alert. Spoiler alert. So knowing that your main character, Bell, basically had Adler's memories implanted in him, I figured that we would be getting an entire cutscene dedicated to going back in time and getting some background on Adler. I mean, it would be a great opportunity to do that and kind of give the player a lot more info on what's happening both in Adler's mind and in Bell's mind. I'm sure they had plenty of time to squeeze in the backstory of any of these characters. It would have extended the campaign from, I don't know, 6 hours to maybe 7. Imagine a whole nother hour of content in this game. I honestly want to know more about Park, as they sort of teased us a bit with some of her backstory and some of the intermissions between them, each of the missions. But maybe that's for a future rendition of Black Ops games if she'll maybe be in those. And yes, I simp for Park. And I'm sad to say that both Woods and Mason both took a back seat in this game. I mean, Mason pretty much has carried the Black Ops series thus far. The one game he wasn't in it, Black Ops 3, was bad. And I think at first I was upset about not having him in it, but they do have one mission where him and Woods kind of separate from the team and go on their own mission, and you get to play as Mason. And there's a cool little homage paid to Black Ops 1 where he sees the numbers going off again, which is a really cool touch, and it had me giddy pretty much for a few seconds. As for the rest of the characters, we pretty much get nothing. They really don't give any background to these characters, and that brings me to my next point. When the story ended, I wanted more from this game. It's all too short. It's a great story, and you get engraved in it, and the very last mission is epic, but it's too short for what it is, and there's a lot of holes in the story that had more content been provided, it would have helped me understand the story more. They do allow for a lot of different story timelines depending on your choices throughout the game, and I really like this aspect. Contrary to most other COD games, this campaign had a role-playing game type of feel throughout the entire game, as opposed to little moments peppered here and there. And depending on the circumstances throughout the entire story, your decisions determine who lives and who dies, and whether or not you end up being betrayed later on in the story. It's really cool that it makes your decisions mean something, as opposed to just kind of going through the motions and really only having an impact when you're, shooting people. So that's pretty cool. Before the very end of the story, I found myself questioning every single thing that Adler was doing and making you do, as well as what his motives were. And it was really complex as to why I felt that way. The game did a very, very good job of peppering in little suspicious things that he would do or things that he would say that would kind of make him seem suspicious, but it wasn't extremely obvious. That's one of the reasons I had to go back and play this game, knowing the full ending and seeing what kind of things they would pepper in throughout the story that would make sense after you know what's going on. It's really kind of hiding in plain sight, which was really cool. And to have this sort of involvement in a video game lore is something you don't really see. The only game that I've played that I've really seen anything like that is more like the Metal Gear Solid games. And you're gonna hear me bring these games up constantly because it's my favorite video game franchise by far. If you get tired of me talking about that, sorry guys, I'm gonna be doing it. But I'm very happy that this story has you questioning everything by the end of it. After I finish the canon ending, and we'll talk about this because there's technically 3 different endings you can have, but I think the main ending is the canon ending, and there's a reason for that. But after finishing that canon ending, I was really surprised by this game. I mean, honestly, after playing the multiplayer and what happened with Black Ops 3 and Black Ops 4, I honestly wasn't expecting much from this campaign, but this campaign was a huge correction of all those past mistakes, including the multiplayer in this game. And maybe because I wasn't expecting much, I liked it a lot. I think it's a great story. The difference between Black Ops 1 and this one is that Black Ops 1 throughout the whole thing was extremely well done. And I think there's certain missions in here that are kind of, you can do without. I think there's dialogue you can do without. I think there's stealth missions that you can do without, or areas where you had to be stealthy where it didn't make sense. But overall, I think that this story was really, really good. And I actually think it's better than Black Ops 2. This was a brand new story. After playing it the second time, having just played Black Ops 1, something felt very familiar about it. I noticed something that is either laziness on Activision's part or just a really smart and grim reminder to remember history or be doomed to repeat it. Black Ops 1 and Cold War are the same exact story, except the sides are switched. So what do I mean by that? I'll post a video link below to another YouTuber who talks about this in depth. There's a long version of why are they the same story. The short answer to this is both stories have the same structure. Their first missions where you literally start off in a bar.
Cool Woods. Wait.
Talking to you!
Come on. Woods is itching for a dust-up. We don't want to let him down.
And you have to escape in a plane. Both are about stopping nuclear tactics, and both reveal that the main character was brainwashed. Think about that. Mason was brainwashed in the first game, and in this game, Bell was brainwashed. The only difference here is that in the first game, I think it was Germans and Russians together brainwashed Mason, and in this one, the CIA brainwashes a Russian agent that survived. So it's the other way around there, but everything else, the structure of this is pretty similar. Go and watch that video. He's a great YouTuber. He covers all of the COD games, but he goes in depth about it. It's a pretty cool watch. But make of that what you will, but I found that pretty interesting, almost like riding on the coattails of Black Ops 1, but telltale sign, and if you don't know your history, you'll be doomed to repeat it. Now, like I said before, this had 3 different endings that I counted, and I really did enjoy them because having multiple paths to go through allows for multiple playthroughs of this game, which is cool for a story where signs of what's been happening are peppered throughout that you don't really notice until you actually know what the ending is. It's pretty obvious that the other 2 endings are not canon if you follow the Black Ops series. This one is supposed to be between 1 and 2. And as you know, in the alternate ending of this, we know that this is not canon because Black Ops 2 follows this game and both Woods and Mason are alive. But it's a very cool alternative ending to this if you're, how I was, kind of pissed off at Adler at what he had done to your character, both during the entire game and in the canon ending. But this was kind of a cool alternative to kind of get your yayas off, right? The third alternate ending, it could be canon because your character dies after you've double-crossed them and led them to the wrong spot. However, there's not really talk of a nuclear waste or a nuclear detonation in Black Ops 2, so I don't really think it's canon. The last mission is extremely crazy and it's an absolute mind bender. At first, there's so many Easter eggs to previous games and even different game modes in this one mission alone. This last mission turns the entire story on its head, and I found myself amazed at what everything culminated to in the end. And the little details that they added in to show things are awry.
That's one perspective. I thought it went pretty damn well. What did you think of that one? Now don't worry, we're stocked. I've got enough to last at least a couple months.
So after breaking it all down in multiple playthroughs, it might not be the best Call of Duty game, but I honestly love this story. I honestly think it's more creative than Black Ops 2, which, like I said before. This game makes you question who was really on the right side of this, which is compounded more by the alternate endings. It also makes you question and analyze what a true hero is. Adler got the job done and saved the world from millions of death globally, but the tactics in which he took to get there are nothing short of evil. I mean, he brainwashed somebody and implanted memories into them without their knowledge. He was the leader of assassinating all these people. Granted, many of them were evil themselves. Is he a hero? Is he a martyr? Or is he a villain? I think this question is what I struggle with, even still going through my third playthrough right now. So my overall grade that I'm going to give this, talk about what I wanted to give this when I first started playing it. At first I was going to give this about a 7 or a 7.5, but after going through the entire thing multiple times and seeing the multiple storylines you can follow, I'm going to give this an 8.5 out of 10. But I think if you play it a few times, go through all of the different paths and do all of the endings, I think you'll appreciate it a lot more. I recommend playing this campaign, and I really want to recommend getting this game for the campaign, but the $60 price tag for a 6-hour game on hard and a really piss poor multiplayer, I can't do that to you guys. If you can get it at a discount or even borrow it or game share it with a friend, I think that's your best bet, even with a high rating of 8.5. The campaign is definitely something you should play through, don't get me wrong, and play through it a couple times, like I said. It's fun, it's creative, and a really cool creative story. Its huge major flaw is that it's too short. I think if this was a 10-hour playthrough, which is still pretty short, being background to all of these characters, kind of letting you get to know them, filling in a little bit of the holes in the story, I think I would have given this a 9.5. So that's the only downfall, but yes, I'm gonna give this an 8.5. So guys, this was my review of the campaign. I really like doing these. I hope you liked this one. I hope you enjoyed this one. Make sure you like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. Follow me on Twitch. I try to stream at least 4 times a week. I do short 3-hour streams, but they're short, they're sweet. I do more campaign games. I appreciate all of you guys' support. So appreciate all of you guys. Thank you so much, Flux fam. Much love.